All right, everybody. I would like to make an official announcement. I would like to introduce Mylan Thompson-Bukovic. She is the VP of Technology, Data and Analytics at AWS. And although I'm from Silicon Valley, I would assume with your background on LinkedIn, you will seem to be very well known in the Seattle ecosystem. It's just an assumption that I have. So thank you very much for taking the time. The stage is yours, and the presentation should be all good to go.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I am super excited to be here. And, as we just said, I am a VP of Technology at Amazon. I've been working in AWS now since 2010.
Ooh, wow.
So 15 years, and that's a long time.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time talking to customers about their data strategy, and then more recently, I've been spending a lot of time talking to customers about data and AI. And what I wanted to do today is share 3 emerging trends that I am hearing about from customers in different industries all over the world, okay? And the first one is this idea of using prompts to make yourself a better, more informed user of AI. People are doing this all over academia and the workplace. The second thing that I'm observing is that when you introduce AI to the team, it pretty fundamentally changes the team dynamics. And I want to talk about that. And then the third thing is that the users who are starting to use AI now, their ability to leap from basic usage into advanced usage is making them a super user. And that is making them incredibly more effective at doing their jobs. And it's differentiating what they do. So let's talk about this first concept, which is how can you take AI and how can you personalize the usage of AI to help you learn and you be more effective? And the secret to that is really prompts. So I want to talk a little bit about prompts, okay? Prompts are just basically a crafted way to ask a question. Here's what's interesting. In October of last year and in January of this year, all of the foundational models got a pretty significant boost. And the boost that they got came in the form of greater memory, greater context, but it was really driven by the rise of agentic infrastructures. Now, you're going to hear me talk about agentic infrastructures, but I wanted to introduce this concept first, because when the models became more capable of doing long-running workflows with agentic infrastructures, it also got a lot better at working with prompts. Now, here in very small font, I have a lot of different prompt patterns. I'm only going to talk about a few of them today. But if you do a search for prompt patterns, you're going to find a whole set of them, or better yet, use AI to tell you more about that. You're going to have a whole set of these prompt patterns, and you're going to pick the ones that you really like the best. But I wanted to start off with this concept first. If you take the idea of a prompt pattern, which we're going to talk about, and you mix it with an understanding of how you learn, okay, then you can just unlock AI in a way that is actually quite astonishing. We're actually going to do that today. And then what it does with the prompts is it helps tell the model how to talk to you best based on what the model knows it learns. Okay, so let's unpack that a tiny bit. These are my 3 favorite prompts. It's persona, it's alternatives, and it is question refinement, okay? There are other prompts that my kids use, for example. I have 3 kids. They're in university, they're in grad school, and they're in college. And the prompt pattern that they really like is something called cognitive verifier. Cognitive verifier basically quizzes them on what they know before they can interact with it, because then they know what the way they interact with the model will give them a different response based on its new understanding of what they already know. That is a pattern called cognitive verifier. So if there's any students who are in the room, if you look up cognitive verifier, you will find a prompt pattern that is incredibly effective to tailor responses. But these are 3 different examples. Let's start first from persona. The words act as is actually a cue to the model that you are now asking the model to assume a persona when interacting with you. Act as is incredibly useful. You can act as a professional dog trainer. You can act as an expert in a technology. You can act as anything you want. And it's basically telling the model to go into the vast troves of information that it has assumed or it has accumulated over the pre-training and become an expert in something for you. And it sets that context across a series of interactions that you then have with it. Very, very useful. As we go through this idea of prompt engineering, maybe you don't know the right question to ask, but you do your best shot. How do I handle outliers in my data? And then you use the phrase, please. You don't have to say please. I always say please. I don't know. My mom taught me how to say please. I say please. But you can say, please suggest a better version of this question. And here's what's interesting. The model will then give you a different question to ask it that it knows it will do a better job answering your question. Incredibly helpful. Alternatives. You don't have to say 3. I always say 3 because things come in 3s. But I always say, give me 3 different alternatives. And the 3 different alternatives can be a different way to explain something or a different way to ask the question. Alternatives is actually a prompt data pattern that the model has been trained on. So we are going to give this a shot. Who has AI on their phone right now? Okay, got a lot of people who have AI on their phone right now. If you don't, you should get it. So take your phone out and do some typing. There's a lot of words in this, so if your thumbs are tired, you can do some editing. And we're going to start first from the persona pattern. We're going to say, act as an AI tutor explaining prompt engineering to whoever you are. You can be a student. You can be a marketing professional. I say an experienced technology professional. I don't use how many years I have actually been in technology because it would make me feel a little bit bad. But I say I build distributed systems because that's what I do. And I say I learn best by reading. And I don't know why. It's just an academic thing. I love to read. But say how you like to learn. Okay? Now, you can also say be concise right after that, because when you hit return, the model is going to give you a very long answer, and if you tell it to be concise, it'll do a much better job. So write that persona prompt and hit return. So at this point, the model is cued in a persona. It has assumed a persona, and it will take that persona until you give it a different persona. Keep that in mind. It's going to keep it in memory for as long as it can. Then type this other prompt. Okay? And in this one, we're combining 2 different prompt patterns. We're combining question refinement and alternatives. What is the best way to learn advanced prompt engineering? Notice I didn't say prompt engineering. The open-ended question is, what is prompt engineering? I'm doing a more specific question, but again, I'm tailoring with these 2 prompt patterns. What is the best way to learn advanced prompt engineering? And then I do 2 prompt patterns in a single sentence. Suggest a better version of this question and give me 3 alternatives to the question, and then hit return. Try it. You have, as a response from your AI, a much more tailored set of information. You have a much deeper response, and at this point, you can take this in any direction you want. You can take one of the alternative questions that the AI suggested, and you can use it. Or you can take that and say, give me 3 more alternatives. You can push the AI to do anything you want, to tell you the information in the way that makes it better and easier for you to learn. If you think about that as a technique, think about how much more powerful AI becomes for you as a user, because you have a few basic prompts to work with. Now, there are many prompt patterns, and you can research them. Now that you have this capability with a few of these, you can research them using AI. Go find a few of them that work the best for you, and do what my kids say, lock in. Lock into those and figure out how this makes you an incredibly powerful learner with AI at your side. This is happening as a trend. We have so many people who are telling us now that they have moved from the basic open-ended question to much more question refinement using these techniques. And the models are getting more and more capable under the hood because of all the work that the frontier trainers are putting into it. And that means you are going to benefit from it as you get better about asking the question. Now let's talk about the second emerging trend. AI is fundamentally changing team dynamics. And if you understand how that's evolving, you can be part of that as well. So, this is nothing new. Technology has always changed how teams work. When we introduced cloud 19 years ago with Amazon S3, teams started to work in different ways. You didn't have a central procurement team that was able to make decisions about capacity and what new technologies. You could just pay as you go. And that is a revolution of the cloud, and it changed how teams work. AI is doing the same thing. Now, for those of you who have worked on migration projects, and in AWS, we've been doing this for 19 years. We've worked with a lot of migration projects. You might have this impression of how a migration to the cloud might actually work, where you have people who get together and they're all on the same page and they're all on the same team and they're all going to work together because they all share one common priority for the migration. That's not really how it works, okay? This is how it works. How it works is that you have experts in different domains. You have an expert in VMware, for an example, an expert in VMware running on on-premises data centers, and then you have a cloud expert, and then you have a centralized IT team that is responsible for actually making sure the project gets done. And then you have maybe a consultant team that comes in and work on it. And they all have very different perspectives. And they're all usually on different teams, which means their priorities might be quite different as well. And so the world of these migrations is complex because humans are working together. And the dynamics of the team are very complex. And then what happens is it slows down the whole project. And so if you think about what AI does, is that AI comes to the table with a new way for teams to work. And AWS released Q developer capabilities in preview in December of last year. And it provided basically agentic infrastructures that powered the migration of Windows Framework to .NET Core running on EC2 in the cloud, and VMware migrations running on premises to run in AWS on EC2 and RDS, and then mainframe modernization, starting first with IBM ZOS. And so we launched this capability, and our goal was to speed up migrations. But when we built this capability, we found that there were two benefits. The first benefit was the very real benefit of being able to migrate your applications and save money in the cloud, okay? And we have customers who found that there was a 40% increase in the migration process using AI, and when they were able to migrate onto the cloud, they were able to avoid licensing fees from Windows, and that saved them 40%. In costs. And so customers saw this immediate benefit. It saved them money and it sped things up. But what they found is that it actually made a major change in how the teams work together. And the reason that is because of the AI agents. If you have an agentic workflow, you have AI agents that are working together. And so you have AI agents that are experts in VMware. And you have AI agents that are experts in, for example, network rules. And what that means is that when you have AI that is an expert in multiple domains, it lets the generalists in the room have a lot more influence and be able to get work done with the AI without having to pull in all the experts from all across the company. And that was a change that when we rolled out, we saw that this ability created a whole different environment. And it was all due to what was under the hood. It was due to these agentic workflows, where under the hood you have orchestration engines that are working with all of these AI expert engines, And they're doing things like they're presenting assessments of the legacy infrastructure and plans of how to migrate. And there's humans in the loop, but a vast amount of the complex tasks, like converting COBOL code into Java for mainframes, are done by the multiple agents that have multiple domain expertise. And so what that ends up doing is it changes how teams work. And so when AI is generating a list of the VPC rules for the VPC expert to review, it's asking the VPC expert to do something within their domain. Just look at these rules and tell me if you want to migrate them. And then it goes back and actually does a conversion, for example, of VMware rules into AWS network rules, VPC rules. And then it asks the VPC expert, how did I do? Can you review my work? That is a fundamental different thing than asking the VMware network person to talk to the VPC network person and map these two technologies. It's a big change. And when we rolled this out, we saw that the teams that were working on customer sites on migrations were much happier because they were able to stay within their domain and bring the expertise of their individual experience. And then the AI did a lot of the work around the mapping, and the generalist, the IT procurement team, was able to kick things off and drive a lot that they were not able to drive before because the expertise is in the tool itself. Big change. And in fact, Signiant, which is a financial technology company in the UK, they saw the first benefit, which is the speeding up of the migration. They saw that it went from 8 months to a few days to migrate a Windows application. But the most important thing to them was to not reprioritize the work of the application expert, because then a generalist IT migration team could do the work with the AI, and they didn't have to change the schedule of this highly constrained resource of the application developer. It's a big change. And so if you think about this, you think about, okay, I have a tool now, and I'm talking about Q Developer. Next, I'll talk about another example of this. But I have a tool now where all the AI capabilities are baked in, which means that if I'm doing migration, I can now do migration across Windows, across VMware, across your mainframes, all in one place, and I can do them all in parallel. Teams often can't work in parallel, but guess what? AI can. It's actually really good at it. And so if you are able to get a tool like this in your hands, you too will be able to work in parallel because the AI is bringing that with the agentic workflows. So the third emerging trend that we're seeing is this idea that if you can do what we started to do today, if you can go beyond the basic usage of AI and you can get an enhanced usage of it, you are going to leap ahead as a super user of AI. And I wanted to talk about one other example of how to do this. Now, first I'd like to introduce you to Ming Chen. Ming Chen is a remarkable woman in AI. She is the Senior VP and the Chief AI Officer for LexisNexis. And what Min and her team have done is that they have built AI agentic capabilities into a capability that they launched in January of this year, so a few months ago, called LexisNexis Protégé. And LexisNexis Protégé, which is built using Bedrock, is a personalized generative AI assistant for the legal profession. And when I say legal profession, I mean law students as well as legal professionals and corporations as well as government. And what they did is they designed the Protégé system to be able to have the ability to take basic questions and under the hood convert them into highly specialized answers that were personalized. They were personalized to the style of the user, but they're also personalized to the style of the firm And they are able to include decades of best practices of legal research that LexisNexis has gained over many years of providing services to the legal professional. And they've put that all into an AI system. And so if you think about LexisNexis, there are a set of things that are going on behind the scenes. And there are agentic workflows that are working with different AI agents. One of them is a planner agent, where a planner agent takes a task that a user of Protégé starts, and it breaks it down into a set of steps that the agentic infrastructure can do on behalf of the user. There is an interactive agent behind the scenes. The interactive agent is proposing plans to the human user so the human user can come back and reflect upon those plans with the agent and decide how to go forward. And then there's a self-reflection agent. There's a self-reflection agent that looks at all of the interactions that Protégé is doing with the user and assesses, am I doing a good job or not? And makes refinement in the agentic workflow behind the scenes. And so in all of these different ways, you have this agentic infrastructure that is coordinating a set of things that automates things like creating graphical timelines for a legal proceeding, summarizing expert witness depositions, looking for legal precedents across decades and across tens of thousands of legal cases. That is the work that's being done for you with an agentic system like what Min and team have built with LexisNexis Protégé. And you can see how basic prompts, basic questions like find me precedents for this particular phrase can then get broken down by these very advanced workflows and get a highly nuanced, highly sophisticated answer right away without taking days and weeks of these time-intensive legal research that used to be the norm of the past, both for students as well as professionals. So if you think about this, there's this journey from going from a basic usage into advanced usage. And for the most part, the agentic workflows will do that for you. That is what they do. The agents are there to break down complex tasks. There are techniques called intent understanding, where they take signals from what you're trying to do, and they understand your intent, and they use that to do the next steps of the multifaceted workflow that is behind the scenes and going on in an agentic infrastructure. It's doing an automatic refinement based on that self-evaluation agent. And it's creating features like high-quality prompt suggestions. But what is next after that? What's next after that is really what takes you to an advanced user. And that is how you interact with the AI. How do you collaborate with the AI? Most of this conversation that I've had with you today is about asking questions of the AI and asking it to do some work. Collaboration is an extra nuance. Collaboration is correcting the AI. It's telling the AI that I like this, but I don't like that. So do it over again. Give me 3 alternatives to what you just did. Imagine that. Imagine taking the personas that we talked about at the beginning of this talk, the ones that you're going to become an expert in, and applying it and using it with your collaboration with the AI. And that is the step up. If you can go from the basic question, which is what is, to setting context around the persona that you want the AI to be, and then you start asking more informed questions, or in the case of Protégé, a lot of those smarts are baked into the agentic infrastructure, you're already going to improve your productivity. But when you can really start this very tight collaboration where you're correcting the AI and you're telling the AI what you want the AI to do, how you want it to do it for you, because that is how you personally learn better, you will get a totally different response for the AI, and the AI will do a better job of doing more things for you, and you will be elevated in the amount of work you can do, whatever your profession is. I'm talking about LexisNexis here, but imagine that. Imagine being able to unlock Protégé to do work and research across multiple cases for you, multiple projects, and you are telling it exactly what to do and how. This concept of human expertise and being an expert in the human loop for agentic workflows is actually the next stage of every workforce. Regardless of your industry, it's any workforce. And what we're finding, and this is quite interesting, is that as you use this more and more, you gain confidence, you gain expertise. And guess what you start doing more? It's just human nature. You start correcting the AI more. You don't take what the AI gives you all the time. Maybe you did that in your first stage as you were evolving your confidence and your expertise. But now you're correcting the AI. And in turn, what happens is that the AI is going to elevate with you. It's going to do a better and better job. Okay? So think about that. Think about this evolution that we're talking about, how systems like LexisNexis can start off by taking basic usage and with agentic infrastructures doing more and more nuanced and sophisticated capabilities. But think about up-leveling it from there, because the AI will go with you. And that is what you need to build as part of your skill set, is how do you bring your human expertise to AI, and how does that make you a better user of AI for whatever industry you're in? So, we're in a new world. If there's anything we know from talking about different technology shifts and different ways that AI is being used in science and business and government, we are in a new world. And that means a new you. That means thinking about how you can customize your usage of AI, like we did here today, to make it do the most for you. And we did just a few. I would really encourage you to do this every day. I do. This is how I learn for my job. There's all kinds of new technology trends. And if I'm learning for my job, I go to AI and I ask it questions and I challenge it and I ask it to help me learn. Do it every day. Keep an eye on how AI is changing team dynamics, because what it means is that you don't have to be the domain expert now to be able to propel a project forward. The AI will have domain expertise, and that AI domain expertise is going to get better and better as these models get smarter and more capable, which means that you can do more in whatever your job is without having to have the expertise across multiple domains. It's really going to change how teams work, and we're seeing it happen already. And then is pretty important. Evolve fearlessly. Okay? Evolve fearlessly. I think many people today are casual users of AI. I think many people are. But if you can evolve into a super user of AI, it is going to help you understand new concepts and complete the work that you need to do in a way that elevates you from the rest of your team and the others that are using it. This will be how people work, and the future is now. All right, everybody, I want to say a big thank you. Thank you for coming. Keep using your AI.
Wow.